Welcome, everybody, to My Hero Analysis Beyond the MHA Rewatch Show. Hope you enjoyed a new little intro animation-y thing that we kind of had going at the start. Trying out something new. I am Tom, and I'm joined by Steph. How are you doing tonight, Steph?
I'm doing all right. It's actually a pretty good Saturday over here. So,
that was great to hear. It's going okay. I meant to actually talk to you about this a little bit beforehand, but we can get into it now. I got some work done on my car today, and it was one of those things where they quoted a certain amount. Then I went to go pick it up, and they started listing me all the stuff, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that. And I handed over my credit card, and I'm like, oh wait, you guys did also swap the lug nut on the tire too, right? Mm-hmm. And then they started talking back and forth, the lady to her husband, who was the mechanic. And she was like, oh, yeah, we did that. And like, oh, it's only $20 for the part. And he's like, oh, and an hour of work. And then I added an additional $170 onto the bill. And I'm like, if I had known it was going to cost $200, I didn't actually need that lug nut, I probably would have said no. But they quoted me $20 earlier, and I just paid it and left. But whatever. Anyway, that's how my Saturday is going.
I'm sorry.
Yep. So, hey, what do we got going on in the chat? Everybody's here tonight. It's great. Well, maybe no Christy. She's appearing. Congrats for appearing at HouseCon. That actually goes to Dan. That is awesome. Yes, congratulations, Dan. Mm-hmm. Hello, Creation Odyssey. Hello, Revoltech All Mites. We were talking about that. We wonder who that was that changed their name this week, because unless it's someone new. And I know James is in here as well. Yeah. So hello, everybody. So we have some great episodes to talk about today. Yeah. And so let's just jump right in.
And this episode was kind of just like the ending to all the Stain everything. So it's kind of like seeing what's happening after the boys get to the hospital and kind of deal with being beat up. I guess it's after their first little heroic mission. This part right here, though, was the newscasters actually seeing Tamura and Warp Guy on top of the water tower, kind of.
You know his name. You know his name.
I'm gonna say it. And I love that he's always in a suit, though, because he's just like standing on a water tower in the dark.
He's dapper. Nice. He's a dapper fellow.
And there's Onlooking, which is very silly villain, like to be caught by a random helicopter flying around, sitting there peeking, but it was quite,
It also is interesting, though, because first off, when the one newscaster says it to the cameraman, they're like, oh, look, there are those two figures on top of the water tower, and they show how far away they are, and this is that. They look like two little dots in the distance. Is like, there ain't no way you're telling who that is. Also, shockingly, she must have a quirk about like super eyesight or something, because that is insane that she picked them out in the middle of the night. One of them is dressed in head to toe black. The only color that you should be able to see there is Kurogiri's sleeves, and that is it. Maybe a little bit of his purple smoking head. But yeah, kind of crazy.
I like this part too, where he like gets so mad that he just disintegrates his binocular. Right. You wonder how much like furniture he goes through.
Oh, God. I know. All for One must be like super rich and just constantly replacing stuff with this kid around.
Oh, and then they asked him if he's like proud of using the resources that he had, basically, and like having this movement happen. I guess I remember Kagiri asked him about it, and he's like, basically, that depends on what happens tomorrow. So
I like that Kurogiri is so okay. They're villains, so take that into account. But he's so prim and proper. Like he's like, and how do you feel like today went? Like he's being like really nice about it, and he's like, idiot. That totally depends on tomorrow. Like it's so freaking rude, but that is so Tamura.
It's and the way he like wants it to progress and it doesn't do that way. Just his reactions are priceless.
Oh yeah. This is it'll go the exact opposite of how he wanted or intended.
Mm-hmm.
Although by the end of it, I think it does kind of come back around and end up working in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
So, the aftermath of the hero killer Stain. Oop, I skipped one. Sorry. It's like the worst sleepover ever, right? Everybody's all like banged up and, arms aren't working.
I think
What? Can you not hear me anymore?
There he goes.
Yep.
Yeah. I like how they're just all on their beds separately too, because it's like I was thinking about this and like how you would sit in a hospital bed. Ida's like cross-legged, and then Todoroki basically looks like he's, I don't know, doesn't need to be there at all actually, but it's
No.
interesting.
Tiny little scratches or something like that he sustained on his arm. Not much.
And like Ida's like bound.
I do like though that they're reflecting on it, and they did do something absolutely amazing. Midoriya says like we did something pretty amazing. How they took down the hero killer that Ida's brother, who is a pro hero and like one of the good ones, like couldn't take him down. Yeah. So they did something great.
And basically the parents have to walk in because they have to collect them. And I didn't realize how big Manuel was until you see him in variants to like other people, especially Gran Torino being so small. But he's actually like decently sized for a hero too.
He is until the police chief shows up and he looks like a small child, which makes Gran Torino look like the size of a shoe. I'm like, what is happening?
Just escalates.
Yeah.
And just I took a lot of screenshots of basically Deku's reaction to him being a dog and not. Which I find ironic because everyone has all these weird, like, I mean, Tokiyama has a bird face and everything else, and he's freaking out because the guy has a dog face.
There's also a cat police officer that's a recurring character in the show, but we never meet that cat. Like, always in the background or in the foreground of scenes, like whenever there's cops around, there's always that one cat. I love it.
Oh, and then he says wolf.
He does say wolf.
And Froppy says ribbit all the time too. So it just made me laugh, and that was like the intense moment in his mind. Like, what is going on right now?
Because I feel like he's almost trying not to laugh, but at the same time, he also wants to be super respectful because it's Midoriya. Yeah, it's great. Eva says, "I want to pet both of them." I'm sure they would absolutely love that. Not arrest you whatsoever. They are cops.
And this is the point where he kind of basically tells them what they did wrong through the entire process by going above and not thinking about actually injuring someone physically, because they did hurt Stain quite a bit, and all the things that come into that. Because even though it wasn't the hero killer, they were not actually past their licensing exams and not real heroes. They should have followed protocol and got real people involved.
Part of being a hero in this world, or training even to be a hero in this world, is strictly following the rules that are laid out for you in this overarching world. They have a society that, just like any society, really, there's rules and regulations that kind of keep a society running. And as soon as you step outside of that, it kind of breaks the whole formation of the society apart, right? And so, like, that whole thing where these kids, they want to do what they're training to do, which is save people, but they're also breaking the law. So in that instance, they're kind of vigilantes, which are kind of villains. So they're kind of who would be going up against heroes. So it's like this whole thing. And it's, this dog is trying to explain it to him, like, so matter-of-factly.
Yeah.
And, of course, one of the kids gets a little intense.
I don't know if I got most of the screens of Todoroki getting upset, because he was just like, and it's super like, and Midoriya's like, whoa, Shoto, calm down. But he was really like, we did the right thing. If Midoriya hadn't showed up, or if Ida hadn't showed up, Native would have died. It was like a chain of events, and he could see it in his mind. And I think that's also foretelling for when he goes back to Endeavor and kind of gets to talk to him about everything that's going on, because they both know the real side of it, that he might be able to learn a little bit too.
Yeah, I love his reasoning for wanting to go back, which we'll get to in a second. But man, what nicely rendered dog eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's got upset.
I'm sorry. Yes, he is a police chief, not just a dog, Dan. I apologize. I love that. That scene with the tongue out and the thumb up. It's so good.
And I like that he like says it like a nice, well, we're just going to keep it under wraps. And you guys did a great job. And then,
well, they mentioned the fact that, because of the injuries Stain sustained, where like scrapes, cuts, and burn marks, it's easy enough to be like, well, Endeavor did it because, Endeavor's a fire hero, so the burn marks are easily explained from Endeavor. So, and he happened to be around. So there's this nice convenient out. And because they're minors and because it's their first offense, he's very willing to kind of just like let it go, like be swept under the rug this time. But it's very much this time. Like you get caught again, and that's it. You're getting stripped away from, which will come up again and again multiple times throughout the course of this, where these kids, want to do the right thing, but they're not licensed. They don't even have their permits yet. So a lot of stuff to take into account.
And I like that Shoto's like, why didn't you lead with that? Like you led with like the bad stuff.
I know. I agree with Shoto too. Like maybe not lead exactly with that, because I think that the best way to approach that to kids is definitely like, you got to understand you did something wrong. Granted, good stuff came of it, and we're proud of you for that. But you have to know you did something wrong. And I think if you let in with the good stuff, then you would kind of not feel the weight of the bad stuff as much.
Yeah.
But also the size difference between the Chief and Manuel is so apparent here, where Manuel doesn't even come up to his chest. It's amazing.
Yeah. I thought this interaction between the two of them, I mean, Manuel's known him for 3 days?
Yeah.
And it's just like he already has like that guardianship kind of feel for him. And so I have a feeling, I don't know later on, I can't remember if they go back to internships again, but I hope that they have more interactions between the two of them, because it was really telling that they're a good match. So
yeah, it's I kind of maybe think part of it though is a lot of the whole there's an honoring your senpais, your elders, like your mentors, to like a high degree. Like there's a very much a respect and admiration thing in Japanese culture, where I kind of see it a lot like that too. It's like they might have only had 3 days together, but as soon as he accepted him on as like a mentor-mentee kind of relationship, he was entrusted in him. He's like, okay, I'm now going to treat you like you're, my ward for this time, and you are now forever like my student, and I'm forever your sensei. Even if you're not under my care anymore, you're still going to be sensei student kind of situation. So I kind of also see it a little bit on that stage, I guess.
Dan says he likes to chop too.
Yes, it's just a good chop, especially from Ida, who also does a lot of chopping motions.
Yeah. I don't remember if this happened between. Did Gran Torino get to talk to Midoriya before this part?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, because there's all the kids kind of get to talk, and then we cut away to this, and then we kind of come back to the hospital where we learn about the title of this episode.
This kind of like it was just all the news that was happening after Stain, and this is what Tamura was trying to talk about, that he was hoping that the Nomus would be the big splash on the screen, and everything was going to be about him, and it wasn't. They were kind of like 3 other villains arrested, but they were starting talking about Stain even more and what's going on, and how it's kind of inciting other villains to appear and kind of grow, because it's showing that there's now a world for them, basically.
Yep. It's giving some people that maybe didn't have an ideology before, or like were grasping for one, for something to cling on to, And, we kind of get some glimpses of some characters that will come back again. And James, I believe this is one of the ones for you. Get a little glimpse of Toga, when they announced the Hero Killer Stain story.
That's hard to say. Also, I think there's a couple other characters in between here, but I didn't want to show them too much because we're going to get them in the next few episodes here pretty soon.
Yep.
And this is Tamura basically getting angry because the Nomus became in secondary, which means he's not the baddest villain on the block, basically, is what he's going for. So, yeah.
I love the close crop of his eye through the hand. It's one of my favorite just compositional scenes through this episode, definitely, because it's so sinister looking, but it also is I don't know, he has this kind of almost a melancholy attitude through it all, but he's so annoyed, and you can kind of get just about how squinted his eye is. And I don't know, I feel like his eye is almost as animated as seeing some characters' full entire faces. Dan says, this is why I haven't bought the McFarlane. I know, man. I know. No eye being seen through that. It sucks. This statue, the Band Presto statue back here, has it. It's really good for that.
Oh, and then we just go back to them. We get to see everybody else's kind of internships come to a close. And Best Jeanist basically gives a speech, and I think this is supposed to be relating to everybody about how all of this stuff is starting to occur with Stain message to villains, but how as a hero they need to remain calm, they need to continue on doing the right things. And Bakugo's anything but calm right now because he's probably pretty like pissed that he wasn't there to take down this hero killer. There's more fighting going on. He's not part of it, and he just cannot handle himself in this internship.
Yep.
Yeah. And I like that they all got this message and they were all like concerned, but none of them were close enough to do anything. And they all kind of checked in, but they were just like, oh yeah, we were kind of around there with our other internship people. Like when Midoriya was trying to explain it away kind of for certain ones. It was interesting just being able to see that they did get the message because I thought it was just a Todoroki, but as you corrected, it is. All the kids got it. So
yep, they sent it to the group thread of all 1A.
Yeah, which is perfect.
I do want to, because Creation Odyssey, going back to Tamora, talking about toys again for just a second. She asked if the Nendo has the eye sight through the fingers. And Dan says yes, but that is not correct. At least I have not figured out how to get his eye to show through his hand or through his hair. You can remove the hand, and you can see his whole face. But if you have the hand on there, the hair does cover in between all the fingers, so you don't get a shot of his eye.
Yeah.
It does look like it comes out, but if you look at it from the other side, it does not. It's like it's stuck there permanently, unless maybe you push harder. I didn't try that, but it's Eva, that is the great question. Who is that All Might account?
I like the mystery going on.
I know, especially because they're talking about selling the McFarlane All Might, and he's like, no one will buy that trash. And I love that, thinking about it as it is the Revoltech All Might saying that. Like, now that I am here, I am the greatest. No one shall buy that trash. Which, it's funny because the McFarlane All Might, I saw it on Amazon going for like $5 like 2 days ago. So yeah, I don't think it's worth much at all anymore.
Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. I love their faces. I love their faces. They're so done with it.
Like they even get to go on patrol, and I think the whole time she's just signing autographs because she's an actress basically, not even a hero anymore. Just it's amusing.
Yep, and I think she even teases them like, "Okay, now we're gonna go out and do some patrols," and they get really excited for it until we actually see what the patrols are gonna be.
Oh, this is when they figure out they're gonna be on TV.
Yep.
And they're both just so irritated. Oh man.
I love this whole scenario, this whole scene. Everything that kind of came from this is great.
I tried to get it in like chunks because it was adorable from all three parties, including the gun hands guy.
Oh, you got to, because he's adorable.
Mm-hmm. And so basically, it's just them checking in, and he asks if it's her boyfriend, and she like flips out. And I'm kind of glad that the phone's still not off, but he is just. And I never thought about this before either, coming from a person, about the voice being close to their like ear, that close.
I never thought of that either, to be honest.
When he's like freaking out, I'm like, oh, that's cute. And then he's like, the voice was so close. And I'm like, oh, Midoriya.
It's like she's whispering in his ear or something.
Yeah, he was super cute about it.
Yeah, it's really funny. I love how like they're having a totally normal conversation. He wants to clearly share everything that happened, but he knows he can't. They're forbidden from talking about it. And, you know, instead he comes away like this. He's just an absolute mess. It's just really cute.
And he gets limping back in there. And then he's like talking about something. And then Shoto's like, be quiet. We got to listen to Ida now. He just got back from his diagnosis where he gets to talk about his arm having damage to it from Stain basically stabbing him a couple times.
Yeah, long-term damage.
Yeah. We can see the cute stills in between because that's where they cut off. Basically, it was mid him talking about it.
Oh, do they really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought.
So like Ida's face up close.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I always love his. So I pay closer attention to these screens, and I'm like, I'm gonna guess that must be like an aged whiskey, right? Because the
I'm
cedar is in the title, Yakushima cedar. I want to look that up before the show, and I completely forgot. But I'm gonna look it up because that must be like a special kind of like Japanese whiskey or something.
Because I think that later on, like I think Aizawa's is like cats and stuff like that for likes later on.
We get a good one outside of getting Mineta likes his women in the third episode, I believe. There's another good one that's like just very basic. I'm sure you screen captures will get to that. Or Voltec, of course he likes Yakushima cedar. All right.
It's a tree.
So we get to the whole thing about how his hand will never be the same unless there is a experimental surgery of like nerve transplant that they can do. But yeah,
this part was like really like adult for a 14-year-old kid. Again, would be like, I made a mistake. I want to know that I made this mistake until I feel like I could fix the mistake. Then it can go back to normal. I'm going to make sure I know that this pain is what's from. Yeah. It's just very adult, very dark.
He wants the constant reminder, and I think like that. Ida has always seemed like more adult than the rest of the kids in this class, and this is one of those moments where he definitely seemed like he's like a salary man from Japan right now. Yeah.
And then he was kind of talking about his hand, like Midori, about how he feels the same way, like he kind of like has the same scars, or reminds him of all the mistakes he made and his powers. And then it kind of gets lost in translation with the third party that's in the room.
Or does it get lost in translation? I don't know. I love how like he's so concerned. He's sweating. He's looking down his hand. He's not looking up.
Yeah. Hence the title of this episode, which I'm so glad you did, because it was like the best thing. I'm going to call him. That should be his hero name.
I think that's what I think he says right here. It's like
as it occurs, and it just like goes on and on about how he calls it. They should call me the hand crusher or something like that later on. Oh yeah,
I'm like the hand crusher or something.
And they didn't do any sound effects for poor Midoriya and Ida laughing hysterically because they think he's joking.
He is not. And Grace honestly says, I love Shoto. He's so sweet and actually kind of an airhead. And Steph and I were talking about that before this episode, and I totally have that exact same sentiment. He is so oblivious to so much, but he's like obviously really, really well skilled in the hero stuff and everything. But I love how out of touch with things he is. And I'm sure that's because his dad only focused on training him to be a hero, not on school, not on like basics of life whatsoever. But as a product of it, he becomes like this endearing character.
Mm-hmm. His ringtone goes off, and I don't remember what it was saying, but I like Aizawa's like his ringtone is as annoying as ever, just like totally out of it. And even President Mike's like, yeah, because the President Mike's, I'm assuming, is like him screaming or something when his phone goes off. I can only imagine, but. This is Gran Torino's calling him, I believe, which is why he's like, sir, and like jumps up scared.
I believe it says like, it's not I am here. His phone's like, the ringing is here. Or like it's something about the ring, like the fact that the phone is ringing, but it's him yelling it over and over. And Eraserhead just like looks over with like this blank stare, like, you kidding me?
Yeah,
you kidding me with this? Like, because they're in this tight little teacher's lounge area, and I'm sure he wants to like murder him. Like, answer that phone right away. I don't want to hear that anymore.
Yeah.
But he also says I think he says he still has that ridiculous ringtone. Like, Eraserhead has known him for so long to know that he has had that ringtone probably for like 10 years.
Probably. And I like this conversation between, I'm going to call him All Might and Gran Torino, because it basically shows how much Gran Torino knows about the entire, like, almost 3 generations now of One for All and everything that's going on, and how he's looked at it. And he kind of gives Midoriya a bunch of praise, but he's also telling him, like, you need to talk to this kid. You need to actually figure out what's going on between the two of you. He needs more teaching and all that. But he lost his teacher license for 6 months or something due to this? Was that what he said?
He definitely he got like hit with a fine. I know that they docked. I think they docked his pay of his teacher's license or whatever it is for 6 months. I don't think they like took it away, but I think they definitely like they're like, sorry, you're not gonna get paid full.
Yeah, for the internship. And then he talks about the pressure that we were trying to figure out if it was part of his quirk or whatever, and he was telling him that it actually made him shake just from a look, from just the intensity.
He just has a strong ideology. Made me quiver to my bones. This is such an interesting sentence because it sounds almost like the opposite what he's talking about, because he's like saying how like everything kind of gets shared over and over and over again. But I also kind of get this suppression idea too, because it's like, hey, we can just put this one idea out there in the world and everyone's going to be like laser focused on that, kind of suppressing you from getting like any other information. We're just going to keep hammering you with this. Yeah. So I don't know, it's an interesting way of looking at it.
He keeps going. So he also talks about how there's going to be a lot more villains now. Like people are going to like this new message, like that this hero killer has this ideology, has this actual like presence and something for them to obtain, or like how you said earlier, they don't have anything to follow, so they need something.
Yep.
And he's like, there's a receptacle ready to receive them with Tamura, which I laughed about because it's like it just basically called him trash and just said it fancy.
Also, though, before they get to even talking about this, it's because he brings this up and he's like, yeah, well, that's fine. We'll create more villains and then the heroes will, take them down. And it'll actually end it easier. Like, All Might was saying it was going to be a positive. Like, but then, Gran Torino brings up this really salient point, being like, no. You forget that there is a place for these guys to go right now. And the fact that in the news they're tying him to them, they think that he's been working with the League. So, of course, anybody who wants to sign up for this ideology is like, well, let me go get my League, armband on and let's go. Yeah.
Oh, then they kind of just our introduction to All for One, basically, at this point in time. And I loved the way that they like zoomed slowly in and then kind of faded it out. I couldn't get like the perfect image with the text and everything, but the way that they interacted this, I could only imagine what's going through his mind for this person that took his mentor from him, blew out the side of him, and now he thinks that he's gone, and there's obviously a presence there coming from him. So
he's there.
Yeah. And then I think that they ended talking about Midoriya and how he needs to talk to him about it all.
Yeah, because Midoriya knows none of this stuff. He just knows that he has All Might's quirk. It's a great quirk that's been passed down. Other people have had it. He doesn't know what happens to the people that have previously had it. In Midoriya's mind, they've lived long, full lives, whatever. He knows nothing. He knows nothing about the creation of it, so we'll get to that.
Yeah. And then we kind of get to
the broker.
Just like some couple villains kind of talking about just everything that's going on, what's like happening, how like all their profits are down due to all the good guys happening. And this guy's like, no, you gotta watch this video for Stain. Our businesses got ready to boom. And they had like a YouTube video, basically. That's what I would concern it to be.
Oh, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, about Stain and all that stuff. And somebody actually caught footage of him at that very end moment where he's like actually intense enough where it means something too.
Shucks the world, and his eyes are red. This character, though, the broker, is an important one to remember. He becomes very important, so he's a big deal. But yeah, this video was. I found it really funny because like at first I thought this was like a news clip, but it was very much like this is like someone on YouTube finding all this stuff and putting cool graphics over it and like putting their favorite like Saliva song to it or something like that. It's just ridiculous. I was thinking of all the YouTube clips I've ever watched that are like this before.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Stain would not approve of it either.
No, not at all. But it does a good job. Like, I don't know where they got all their information from for this YouTube video, but it follows suit with all the information that we know of Stain. And we do, I believe, in the next episode, one of these episodes, they do a character card for Stain, and they actually fill in all the unknown stuff So I like that.
This is just like the last end of that clip. And this is basically how the video stops too. When they show that clip on YouTube, then that's an intense moment to like stop on.
I think it's great they stop it there instead of a second later where he's just frozen like that because the bone is punctured in his lung.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy Tamara.
Just the person in the background too. I was so focused on her that I took the still. I was like, oh, obviously causing havoc.
Yep, she's just banking in those that thing for her quirk that I don't want to go into just now because it's revealed in a great way in this show, like after the fact, which is great.
And then some really other.
We'll get to know a lot of these characters as time goes on. I believe one of them doesn't show up until like season 4.
Yeah, and this is, I believe, the start of the next episode slides.
Is it?
I think so. Oh, maybe this is the end.
No, because doesn't he? Oh yeah, no, he's still in the hospital at the start of 32, okay. Or 30. Yeah, 32. All right, cool. Well, favorite moment of the aftermath of the hero killer thing.
It's the hand crusher thing. I was like, I've never laughed that hard in a long time about it, and like even with Midoriya being super cute on the phone, there's a lot of like cutesy stuff.
Yeah.
But Shoto's in like moment of self-reflection, thinking, "Oh my gosh, I've destroyed these two people's arms," was hilarious.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I remember thinking that I was like, I don't know, it was just fun for these kids who are they've been through a traumatic experience. And one of them's just so blissfully unaware of everything going on in life that he cracked this ridiculous joke. And they're just, I don't know, they're just kids being kids. I love when these kids get to be kids. It's very rare for them. And there are moments where, they get to do normal high school stuff. And even though they're in a hospital after being attacked by a hero killer and all this crazy stuff, they are high school kids being high school kids right now. And it's great. I have to believe there's also footage of Stain's speech on YouTube, but it's such Evanescence. Yes. 100%. Evanescence is a good one. Yep, I agree. Articulator's favorite moment was Gunhead, just Gunhead, and Creation Odyssey says, yes, he's just too adorable. He is. Creation Odyssey agrees, Shoto and the Hand Crusher. Me and Steph are in agreement with you there. Yeah. So I think we just jump right into the next one then.
Yeah. That's the next one, I think. I think that was the last one.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that. Let's go there.
So at this point, I think Midoriya's in the hospital by himself. So
I was shocked that Tenya wasn't Tenya had it the worst to me. And the fact that he got out before Midoriya kind of shocked me, but maybe it was also because Midoriya just is like, I'm fine being here. Tenya wants to get home to his mom and his brother and all that kind of stuff.
And I think after having your brother be in the hospital, and then now you're like, not even that, the mom was probably freaking out because she has both boys in the hospital and the same dude. They need to come home.
But they're from the same dude. She knows that the dude's been captured as a result of something happening where her other son was involved. So there's at least a light at the end of that tunnel, in a sense. Even though she doesn't know that Tenya, I'd imagine she doesn't know that Tenya helped capture him, but I don't know.
So, they go back through it. He gets to go home to his mom's house, and I think Shoto didn't have any injuries, so he goes back to Endeavors for an internship.
I love his reasoning for wanting to go back. His reasoning for wanting to go back is because Endeavor was given basically the praise for taking out the hero killer. And he's just like, I can't wait to see the look on my old man's face when he, because he has to deal with that. Like, he is getting all this praise for something he didn't earn, and he knows that his dad is going to be like, pissed off about that and just be like annoyed and seething in a way. It's just like, I love that there's this thing, and I think Deku even says, he's like, oh, you're kind of mean when it comes to Endeavor. It's
it's a good little interaction.
There you go.
I just think it's going to be interesting between the two of them later on. I don't remember too many more interactions. That's why it's going to be fun to rewatch this later on too, to see Endeavor and Shoto's kind of grow a little bit and how they interact. So
Yeah, we get a lot of good stuff that season 4, as we saw, and then I think I don't know how far they're going to get in season 5, but I think there's going to be season 6, but there's a lot of good interactions of them coming down the pike.
Perfect.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I'll take it away.
So we kind of get to go check on everybody else, which was fun for this part. And Genus is trying to tell him, why do we walk around outside? What's the point of being out in public? And Bakugo's just like, well, if we see villains, we get to beat them up right away because they're right in front of us. We don't have to wait. And then Genus is like, no, it's to give the public a peace of mind. And I love that, like, the same as All Might, they always have, like, fangirls going around and doing all this stuff. And the kids are like, why? The what?
I love Best Jeanist. Best Jeanist, I was watching this one guy on Twitter who started watching the show. And he was like, okay, I'm into the show. And then the second Best Jeanist showed up, he was like, all right. He like stopped everything on Twitter. He's like, all right, guys. I've been watching My Hero for a while now. And then this guy shows up and he just puts a picture of Best Jeanist. He's like, are you kidding me? This guy? And I'm like, yes, he's so good. Because you follow behind him and he has like butt pockets on the back of his head and whatnot. And he poses all like, it's just,
he made Bakugo wear jeans.
I know. And like style his hair. Everybody in his sidekick group, his hero agency, they're all just wearing like normal clothes. You could tell there's like glimpses of a costume there. Yeah. And it's just like, you can tell he's like, no, we wear jeans here. All right.
He just looks, oh. And so these kids come up and they start making fun of Bakugo, and he makes them start crying, which is like, it reminds me of Deku, because they're like, wow, they don't know how to like handle it. And he's not really even saying anything mean. He's just basically like, stop making fun of me. You guys have no idea what's going on. And then Genus is like, you should be nice to them. Like, figure out how to be better. And he's like, tells them, I'm the man who'll become the #1 hero, with the snarl on his face, which makes them cry even more. It's very telling.
He also tries to be like, I wasn't captured by that sludge monster. Yeah. I was thinking about how to take him down. Like,
yeah.
You were captured. You were totally lying to these children.
Oh, and then we get to go to poor Ochako and doing all this like fighting training. And I love this one. She's like, she went for it too. She was swinging that knife around like going crazy, and he takes her down. And the best teaching ever from this too, he's like, okay, now I'm going to come at you until you can do the same thing. So he makes her like completely like able to do it too.
And we have to bring up the way after he kicks over the knife, after like, he disarms her and kicks the knife over, he trots over to that knife in like the cutest little dainty way.
Yeah.
And I think she even mentions like how adorable that is too. It's just as great.
And I like how they're doing community service. Like, it's like one of those things, like they're showing all these other sides to the heroes and kind of like what life is like no matter what outside of school. That it's not all glam and fighting bad guys, that you have to do other things to provide safety. So.
Yep. It's great.
Mm-hmm. You see
the next one? I think I am. Well, there we go.
Oh, some of them did go on missions, so that was good. And this was cute to see. Not only is Jiro actually getting to use her powers and everything for like an actual mission, but I think this dude is wearing the same outfit as the big guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. But I think like so a lot of the actual primary sidekicks tend to like adopt a look similar to the main hero. So I feel like this kid is his primary sidekick. So that's why he looks. Is he like Death Fist or Death Arms or
something like that? Yeah.
I know he yells it, but I love seeing that Jiro gets to like use her power to help them find the guys, and she actually gets to help save people here.
The team best right now. These two, this was like this interaction and this kind of. I don't remember if you're saying that this was the episode was kind of filler a little bit. Like
this is created just for the anime.
Yeah, which I think it works. It was very, very in tune with what Froppy dreamed of an internship and what she wanted to do and where she wanted to do it at. and she was working really hard, and so I think her name is Sirius, right? Is what the name of the character.
I believe that's her name too. I think this is the only time we ever see her, so I'm not like I haven't committed her to memory. But yeah, I believe her name was Sirius. But yeah, it's great. I love the fact that we're getting a little bit of, especially a Froppy, a character who became a fan favorite. She got in the tops of every year they do a favorite character of MHA in Shonen Jump, and she's always been in like the top like 7 or 8 or something like that. So I feel like that's probably part of the reason why the anime was like, hey, we want to do an episode that kind of shows the other kids. Which kid can we do something with? And they got to choose Froppy. So it was cool getting to see a little bit extra with her because we don't really get too much of Froppy.
Yeah. You kind of get to see the characters. Yeah. Well, he's just like Gunhead, where it's like super trying to be cutesy and like different and like, but they're muscular and amazing. So it's like, and his powers are super cool too, even though they don't explain it very well. They just call him a seal, but he has like the coolest things.
He has all the powers of a spotted seal.
Yeah.
Just like how Froppy has all the powers of a frog.
Yeah. And I love that line too, where he's like, just because you have a big mouth like a frog doesn't mean you get to spend your time gabbing. I was like, wow.
I know, super rude, but then he's totally setting up just so he could do the kawaii thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's where he's like, I'm going to be mean so I can be adorable.
Yeah. And I like how everyone else is like gut wrenched about how like awful it is, but Froppy finds him adorable. He like super cute.
In her head, she's always internalizing like, so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Likes rock music. Ojiro. I like hers liking Jello. I'm like, yeah, of course she likes Jello of all things.
I feel like she likes a lot of things, and it's just going to change.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they quizzed her on where they were going or how these people were acting, and she said, well, they must have took over another boat, and they're running off into the distance with cargo. And so he got to do his little cutesy thing again, where he says, that's correct.
It is great that his sidekick, his main sidekick, Sirius, is so upset. She's like, you cannot do that. Like, you have a cute face, but your body is just too, like, muscular and manly. It's like, it's just does not work. Like, you can't just do it. And then Froppy goes, how cute.
Yeah. She thinks it's adorable, which is perfect. And we get to kind of see a little bit of like heroes in action. And this episode kind of made me think that there was like how there's different branches of the military. So you have Coast Guard, Air Ones, and all this other stuff. But there's got to be heroes all over the place, dude.
Oh yeah, I mean they kind of cover that a little bit when we go to the USJ. You know, they're like, hey, take a look. Here are all these different terrain types, all these different environments. And Froppy's like, I can't wait to do stuff in the water environment because like that's me. So yeah, of course. There's a Coast Guard style hero. There's like the Antarctic like frost hero, stuff like that. Because some quirks are just tailor made for some areas. Quirks seem to be very, and this could just be as a product of like how many generations down we are, but they're very narrowed to the point where Sirius's quirk is ridiculous. It's like it works in general, but it's like typically something that like I don't know. It's one of Superman's 30 powers, it's not like a main power, but it's her main power. And she's using it really well because, one of the people in this situation, he can talk, underwater very easily, that kind of stuff, and she'll be able to hear it.
We get kind of in that. And they have like the little cool splash screens of them too.
Yep.
And I like how they're like, we're going to use the boats, but the captain's going to go do reconnaissance underwater. So...
And he's gone from like morning till night. He's out there doing this like all day. Mm-hmm. He looks so cool. Like the animation on him is great.
Mm-hmm. And they're all like, we can't see anything, but they're gonna keep looking for a while.
Hey, they gotta do their jobs.
Yeah. And then Froppy was upset because I think Selkie took 2 guys with him, but didn't want to take them. And he's like, no, you got to stay here and you got to listen to me. It was like the rule that she had to learn was that she had to listen to the person in charge.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. And, Sirius even says, she's like, I understand. Because, we got to see Jiro. Jiro went with the heroes into the action. And she's like, I know you want to go with them. And because she even says, like, well, this is my internship. I got to go learn something here. And she's like, you are going to learn something. Just listen and you'll learn, you know? Because she said I think the whole purpose of this entire like branch of this arc is Sirius says to when she's sitting down with her next to her, she's like, look, I wasn't sure where I was going, where I was headed, and I did this internship, and I really wasn't sure about it. But at the last day of the internship, something clicked with me, and it was like, this is my drive for why I want to become a hero. And Froppy asked what it is, and she's like, I can't tell you. That's something you have to figure out for yourself. She's like, I want you to find that answer for yourself. So this is kind of her being like, just listen and take each part in steps, and you'll get there. You just gotta build your way, and you'll get there. I want a figure of these. Well, they're actually triplets, but these twins.
Yeah, and I love that they just opened the door and then just pushed him in.
Yeah.
Because that guy is huge. Like these little tiny guys are like, oh, we're gonna push this giant seal into this baron. Well,
actually, it's funny because so they've searched the boat. Selkie is like, yeah, we searched the entire boat, we found nothing. But how about in here? And that's where they keep all the fish on a fisherman's boat. And that fisherman that's being tossed in there right now was with the two. They're squid people, right? It was with because they have beaks, so I'm guessing they're squids. Was with them, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and then they kind of cut to a view from down below, and you see somebody push all of them in. It's the fisherman who pushes Selkie in. It's not even like the twins. It's the guy who's getting pushed in right there. So it's really funny. Good ear. What a terrible name for a quirk. I got that good ear.
It's just like one of those things like how do you even know when that manifests? Like all of a sudden
you can hear someone from like 2 miles away or something like that. I don't
imagine being 5 and be like, what is going on?
I know. Well, that's like one of my favorite things whenever we see, I brought up Superman a little while ago because he has super hearing. Whenever you hear him like first like learning that ability, it's just like and same thing with Daredevil, right? It's like it's overwhelming at first, like the amount of information coming in. So it's learning how to kind of like pare that down. So I would love if they wanted to expunge upon the good ear quirk, although I think that's wasted time because it's a ridiculously basic quirk compared to everything else. But it would be interesting. I'd watch it. I'd watch anything. Not even best ear, says James. I like it.
Yeah, so they found the boat, which was kind of pitched over there, and I think it was because right then and there when she's listening is when he's doing his little seal talk that he does, little clicking things from inside there, and it kind of tells them to go ahead, and they'll catch up once they get out of their little hole there.
Yeah, I think he basically tells them that the two, whatever is tossed is a decoy ship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so they kind of go around, they get to see this ship, and they kind of go down there. I love that Froppy brings them down. Like they're like using her as like a way to get maneuver down to the boat, and she's strong enough to carry both of those people, which is ridiculous to me.
I want to know if the big guy has a quirk or he's just a dude.
I think I don't know. I like that the 3 guys were like all big enough to like stand next to Selkie, so they had like the same like little entourage. So.
Yeah, I feel like he just got really good fishermen for his boat, and it's just Selkie and Sirius with the quirks.
Mm-hmm. And this villain, super cool.
Yeah, I know. I love him. No. I would love a figure of him too.
Mm-hmm. It's just the way he talks and like, it's just very unique and what's going on, and very like strong at least for what was happening. Because if Froppy hadn't been there, it probably wouldn't have gone as well as.
No, and Froppy gets her butt handed to her pretty good too. Like
yeah. But she actually stands up for it right now because and then they take the earpieces off too. I thought those were her ears. For like
when they said good ear, I'm like, wow, it's weird that her good ear is shaped aquatic. Like is this some kind of weird fish ability that I just don't know about? And then they're like, oh no, it's just a transceiver. Okay, cool. It's like a walkie-talkie.
They just like enhanced her already good ears. So I was like, okay, it makes sense. And he's like, you need to tell them that we're gone or whatever. You can save her. And then Froppy is being amazing, and she gets brave and decides to tell them exactly where they're at.
Yep. Because she's like, I guess I'm going to fight now. That's just going to happen.
Yeah. And so she realized that she has to follow the captain's orders. And so it's kind of like that internal thing of realizing that she has to trust other people to be a hero.
Because she wanted to save. I think the conundrum here was that she wanted to save Sirius, who was being held back by the tentacle villain. And the tentacle villain's like, you tell them there's nothing to see here, kind of thing. Everything's fine. And Sirius is like, no, don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. We need to catch these guys. But then the villain shuts her up. And so if she were to say, there's nothing to see here, she would have listened to the villain and, whatever the villain might have gotten away. But she's brave.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get that scene, but yeah, she basically says, no, they're right here. Come over between the twin rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Froppy is a very extremely brave and rational character, says Krayshaw, and I agree.
Yeah. Just the way her stance is right here too. So it's like crazy how she can bends her arms in the same way, so it's like frog-like and jumps around so much. It's just so unique.
It's one of the reasons why I really want to see a full 1/12 scale figure, because though the Nendo looks great, it's never going to be able to do anything like that. And I would love to get some cool shots of her jumping around. Yeah, go ahead.
He throws her around by her own tongue. I felt so bad.
He grabs her by the tongue, and then he just drags her along the side of a mountain. He's just ripping her down by her tongue. This poor girl is knocked out, and he's about to kill her.
Yeah, and I think the next screen is him. This was really telling.
Kind of looks like Tentacle in a way.
Mm-hmm. This is really, and then these guys get thrown around. I almost thought All Might was coming at this point in time. So I was like, what is going on?
Yep. They did say that Selkie, because of his body from being a seal, he had super strength. Mm-hmm. So he is super strong.
Just the way it just bounces off like it's nothing now that he found the villain. It's perfect. I didn't know why he needed flippers though. He should have.
Makes him go faster in the water.
Maybe. I was like, he's a seal. He should be able to swim.
No, he can, but flippers make you go faster. You've swam before, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a good swimmer without flippers, but when I put flippers on, I'm a great swimmer.
And this
I love that kick.
Yeah, this is a splash screen of him getting beat finally. So I like this interaction too, because Sirius was actually really worried that Froppy was going to get hurt, and she's supposed to be the mentor, and it's kind of like a reverse of what was going on with everybody else.
Yep. Yeah, well, she did just watch her get dragged around the side of a mountain by her tongue. So yeah, I'd be worried. Hey, are you hurt?
Oh, and then he says thank you in the cutest way possible.
Did he get the scene of her on the boat? She's like, "You're doing that now."
Yeah, I didn't.
I love that because she's on the floor of the boat, laying down because she's just been tormented by this villain, and he pops up to check on them, and he's like, "Thank you." It's like, oh, not of all the times you don't do it right now.
They're just they have them walking, but he's carried out Han Solo. I was laughing about this.
That is great. That's totally what that is. Yeah, I love the size of that dude in front. His proportions are insane. Gigantic hands.
Maybe he's got good arms.
Good arms, yeah. This is just the good team. Yeah, this is basically the Coast Guard. They're having a conversation with the Coast Guard, and he thanks Selkie, and he's like, what did he say? Something about having a kid with them? Who is this? Oh, another sidekick. Yeah. And he's like, oh, she's not a sidekick. She's a student at UA. But she already has the makings to be a great hero. She's going to be a great hero one day. Yeah. I love the fact that he's just a Coast Guard guy, and he's like, well, I look forward when we can work together. That's just such a professional way to treating her like an adult and not like a 14-year-old is it's a big thing.
Mm-hmm. And I like that they have that kind of relationship like the police officer and All Might do. They have that communication because he answers the phone when the guy calls, yes, sir, I'm going to take care of this kind of thing. So, yeah. And this is the end.
That is it. And that's a great episode. Mm-hmm. Favorite moment from that episode?
Oh, there's a lot in that one, too.
I know, that's a tough one because, for me, it's I I love the Froppy stuff, but I also love all like the little quick hits we get in the beginning. Like honestly, contender for best moment for me is Shoto really just wanting to see the look on his dad's face when he has to like come to terms with being given the props for taking down Stain when he didn't.
I really like the interaction between actually seeing Bakugo try to be coached by a hero and a really great hero, and he's just like, I don't get any of this. Like, he cannot do it.
How many times does Bakugo say, I just want to go home? Like, how can I go home? I don't want this anymore. This is a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is, like, that is everything he's trying to learn in this scenario with Best Jeanist is everything we'll see him grow and to like come to understand as time goes on, and it actually makes him, to me, a more endearing character. And I'm like, you've learned this stuff, but it's like watch him like he's basically raging against that machine right now, right? He's like, I don't want to learn this stuff, but
he doesn't think it's necessary. Is the problem? Like he sees it as a noise around him that's not really important. His important thing is that he's powerful. He wants to beat powerful things, and that's what he thinks needs to happen.
Yep. I'm actually surprised. I mean, I know you love Bakugo, but I'm shocked that Froppy isn't your main moment of the show.
She's amazing, like everything through it. It's funny how like they can show some random little bits and pieces here and there. I think Sero has a bunch of great moments in the next episode, and it's just like certain characters just come out of nowhere and they just like hit you weird, and so I think him having like an actual lesson, and like they kind of just make fun of his hair for a couple episodes, and this was actually supposed to be time with this hero trying to teach him how to do something, and then he's just not getting it, and it's just like another moment in his storyline. But yeah, Froppy, I like her interaction and her growth as well. It was nice to see her have some more time.
Yeah. Like I think for me, my number one moment is the Shoto, just saying that stuff about his dad. But then it would probably be if you took all of the Froppy stuff and condensed them into just saying the Froppy segment, because we got a little mini Froppy story arc, which we'll get like a little story arc of some characters every now and again. But that's like the Froppy one, like, okay, next we'll get the next one of some character. And it's kind of great. I just love, fleshing out characters, other characters in the show. So that's great. And I know that Articulator said that anytime I get to see Froppy kick ass is a good moment. Creation Odyssey also agrees, saying Froppy's brave moment, wasn't expecting that from her. That was great. Sleep with Giants is my favorite part, was a Lovecraft reference. What exact reference was the Lovecraft? Did someone say anything about Cthulhu in there? Or is it just the fact that guy looks like Cthulhu? But yeah, some good moments in that one. And I'm going to get the screen ready for the last episode of the evening. Let's jump right in.
We kind of go back to Midoriya now, finishing up and getting out of the hospital. So he wants to go and at least say thank you to Gran Torino, who again only had him for like maybe 3 days before he went and did this.
Yeah, because Deku, I feel like, was in the hospital up until the last moment, but within the first 24 hours, 48 hours, he learned more than I think he could ever have hoped to get over the course of a internship.
I almost feel bad because look how much he could have learned in like a week with this guy if he had some time.
I think he wouldn't have just tripped and fell in the next scene that we see him. I think that's probably, he would have been more stable jumping around like Gran Torino does.
Yeah. And I really like the nagging made me laugh too. And then he noticed why his arm hurt was because he went over that 5% mark. And I didn't think about that because we were trying to figure out if he like Stain hurt him or why his arm was like hurting during that match. And it's funny that he can just look at him and know that injury was due to the fact that he went over the permitted 5%.
I like it also says nag, nag, nag at the top. That's what all those little kanji characters say. Just nag, nag, nag.
Which is perfect for him.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like talking to a little bit about how he's completely different than All Might was around that time and how it's actually might be a good thing. Yep. And I don't remember if I got the part where he's like, oh, who are you? Like totally. And Midoriya's like, what are you going through? Like old man psyche now?
He's like, I'm Izuku Midoriya. And he's like, no. Who? Oh, that's not what I'm asking. You know what I'm asking. Like, who are you? Like, Who am I talking to?
And he actually said Deku, and it's really cute that he's
Yep.
like, oh, that's me now. It's like I'm a hero.
I feel like at that second he finally embraced the name. Like, yeah, he embraced it earlier, but this is the moment where he like actually got to deliver it to the first time to a person that has never heard anybody else call him that or anything like that. And when he delivers it, Gran Torino smiles and he's like, all right. Like he accepts it without questioning, like, really? You're okay with being called that or anything like that? And as Gran Torino's like walking away too, in his head, he's like, I look forward to when the name Deku is revered as the new symbol of peace,
Yeah.
the same way. And it's great.
He's a great character. I need figures of him. He'd be a perfect Nendo for everything.
We talked about that. He would be weirdly big, I think, in a Nendo.
No, it'd be perfect.
Okay.
Then he can go with the Banprestos as a Nendo. He'd be perfect.
He'd be so like just a giant head and the tiniest body.
Mm-hmm. This is like supposed to be a really serious part, but we're going to go into some fun stuff first. So,
Great capture of these faces.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah looks insane.
I know. Just like, and it's funny because Bakugo's not used to being made fun of at all. And so
I know.
This is actually entertaining on like two different wavelengths because the other two used to be scared of him. Now they've embraced him as a buddy. And so he's actually embraced them as buddies too. But now he's like, I don't know what's going on.
Well, they know he's all bark, no bite kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we know the wall that you put up of like this like big tough guy thing, but we're gonna still rib you because you deserve it.
Yeah, and you look ridiculous, and I like, and then it just boom.
With a bomb.
Yeah.
Charisma looks insane right there. That's amazing.
I couldn't imagine how hard they're laughing because it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Christmas teeth always get me. They're like shark teeth.
Yeah. Rock teeth. Oh.
That's what they're talking about, Frothy, right?
Yeah, when she was talking about the going and saving or getting smugglers, and they were like, "What?"
Well, they're talking about like how they get. Mina didn't get any hero stuff in her internship. Jiro got to save some people. She was great. And Frothy's like, I did nothing. Well, I guess, we did, catch some stowaways from a neighboring town. And, we had to battle a villain, blah, blah, blah. We're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because she says it so like, I guess that's happened.
Yeah. Just so she's just like, that's what you're supposed to do on internships, right?
Yep.
And then I didn't get all the faces that she's making for this because I think what the quote was is like that Urika's awakened because she's like super like fighty stance.
Yep.
And then the boys are all like, what is going on? Because they have like the little vibes happening.
And then Mineta, I believe, says something. I don't know if
Yeah. Well, this is like, that's a huge change for just 1 week, just for her. And then he freaks out. He's like, women are scary.
They're all demons. They're just hiding their true personalities. I feel like Kaminari is like, what happened to you with Mount Lady? Because like this changes his entire outlook on women for this brief second, and then quickly by like mid-episode, he's creeping in.
And then they see Midori and then ask him about him. They're like going on about Endeavor being there and saving them from stuff. And I like how they just kind of basically nod, just like, yeah, sure, let's keep moving along.
Yep.
Then Ida goes into class rep mode and she's like, all right, guys, we got to get ready for class.
We jump right into the basic training.
Yes, which is like a random test. I think they only test 5 of them, right? For this one.
No, they do all of them, but they just don't show it.
Yeah.
Because he even says, like, I think they cut away to a scene at the end of the first round of 5 kids. They're like, all right, next kids, line up, let's go. And then it cuts to the end. Because we have other stuff to cover in this.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Nendo looking All Might head.
Yeah, where he's yelling help. He's like, you're coming to save me. And I like how they split them up, too, when they said that these were the more mobile kids. Like, they had a higher agility, which I thought was funny because Midori at this point in time does not have agility. I don't know where they kind of got
Did they say that? I didn't think that they tried doing that because, yeah, like Bakugo and Shoto, because like Shoto can like cruise on his ice and Bakugo flies through the air. So, like, why would they be front and center?
I remember they mentioned it, and then they started going into who was going to win. They started betting at this point in time. Oh, that's why they told him he couldn't be there because couldn't blow the buildings up.
Well, no, he's like the important thing to do is minimize damage, and as he says it, he points to him because Bakugo still has to do it. Bakugo does do it in the later. But he is very much just you can't blow stuff up.
No, he's like, don't point at me. He's so annoying. Like it was then Sero's face right in there. It's like, haha.
I know. Sero kind of looks like a me. From Nintendo Mii.
Yeah.
Or Deku.
They were just like ripping him and knew everybody was at this point in time. And I like how Ida's quiet. Like Ida's out there, so they don't even get to hear him at this time. So it's like
Shoto doesn't say a damn thing because Shoto doesn't even realize that he's been fighting alongside him for against Stain. Doesn't even realize the kid moves differently. Has new abilities and whatnot.
No. And at this time, I think they go through everybody. I think they said Sero was going to win because Sero's easier to mobility wise. He doesn't have to jump around. He can just go straight from swinging.
Some people are saying Ojiro. I feel like Ochako and someone else were like Ojiro should get it, and I'm like,
yeah,
really? The tail guy?
Well, he moves around and swings too. But then they thought that Mina, because she can slide around and do whatever. No, I think Ochako thought Ida was going to get it. Because he's so.
Oh, that's right, Ida. Yeah. Ida, again, I do think Ida should win. Even his injuries were on his hands, not on his legs.
And then, I love how everybody's saying who's gonna get in first place, and then Bakugo just Deku should be last. No.
I know. Last place, Deku should get last, and I feel like Jiro rips him a new one. It's I feel like we don't even know what this kid's even capable of yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, poor Deku. I forget because we get to see a lot more of him than the classmates do, so we don't get the fact that he's learning one for all. And he's dealing with all these struggles and internal stuff.
Yeah, Deku will be last, just straight, going on.
And he was almost first. Zero does have some great Spider-Man-like moments during this. He's just jumping around and whipping around. It's great.
It's nice to see him be able to use his powers after getting his butt kicked, so.
Yeah, true. Yeah, this place. I love the design of this entire. This is Gamma. Wait, something Gamma, something location Gamma. I forget what the name of it is, but it's just piping everywhere. It's I kind of want a Dio of something like that to shoot in because it'd be really fun.
I think at this point in time, you just see green flash by Sero, and he's like, "What is going on?" And then he's jumping all over the place, and it was hard to catch it as a progression without having it move.
This scene, this is it though. This is that's the shot right there. I love it. This is, I'll say it even early. My moment of the episode is Deku blowing away the kids' expectations. I mean, hey, look, I have progressed in this new way, but doesn't say anything. Just does it, gets it done. I love it.
And I like that, Ochako's wait a second, he's moving and then Bakugo realizes it at the same time. We only get this for a flash, too, or almost oh my god! Yeah.
You look at him! Look at my boy!
Yeah. And they're all excited, and then it's just Bakugo realizes that he's moving the same mannerisms as he would jump around.
Yep.
Which is also because that's what he knows. And this is when Shoto realizes that there's something different.
It's so oblivious to everything. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, yeah, it's a little like Bakugo, but it's also a lot more like Gran Torino in my mind. Because Gran Torino actually bounces off stuff. Bakugo doesn't. But he has been... Before he met Gran Torino, he already wanted to do the wall bounce thing, and that was very much Bakugo stuff. So it is very influenced by Bakugo, but it's also a little bit of Gran Torino in there.
And then later on, it'll just be him. But, I mean, he has to start somewhere, and why not start with the one person he's been watching bounce off walls forever? So
yep, exactly. Oh, yeah, we do see, Midoriya is set to be first. He's cruising. He's flew past everybody, and then he trips over his own, his foot slides on a pipe.
Yeah.
And he falls on his face. But, it looked like he fell right in front of Oma. Because wasn't he, on his face, on the tower?
I
Where-
think he must have like slipped, and then I don't know. But yes, when they show it later on, when how they won, because Sarah won after that.
Yes.
First.
And he wears this lovely badge that says, "Thanks for saving me" on it.
Mm-hmm. Which, yeah. Oh, and then I felt so bad because everyone's like cringing, and poor Ida's like, Midoriya, are you okay? Like, because they all know how injured both of them are. Only them two know it at this point in time. And he's like, are you okay? He's just
Yep.
like,
Poor Midoriya.
and Sarah was like, I won.
He's so proud. I know. His costume was great too there. I love it. It's a cool look. Nina's really upset.
Oh, this was cute.
I love the little. This is after all the kids are, excited, kind of walking away. I don't even think. I think All Might's facing the other direction too. So he's like just talking out loud, but like quietly to Midoriya, just for Midoriya to hear. I loved this whole thing. He even gives him a little. I'm sure you caught it. Yep.
Yep.
It's up. It's so sweet. They have such a good relationship, those two.
It's cute.
This will make me laugh. Oranges. Likes oranges. Okay. He really does have the face of a me. He really does. I feel like that's where Horikoshi got the design for him.
It's just the lines are just like he drew it really quickly almost.
He says over and over in the books he really likes to create characters that are just fun for him to draw.
Yeah.
And I imagine Sero is a very fun one for him to draw. Because he's very simplistic, but he's cool. Oranges are great, Eva. I'm not making fun of oranges. They're just, it's like if anyone here has seen Battle Angel Alita, the first time she tastes food, it's like it becomes her favorite food. And the first one is oranges. And then the first time someone asks her, like, do you have a favorite food? She's like, I do really love oranges. Like, that's no. You need to like try food before you say,
yeah,
orange is my number one thing. Anyway, likes women. And I think we jump right into that.
Well, because they're getting done with the thing, so they have to go and wash off in their respective, what do they call them? Locker rooms, I guess.
The locker rooms, yeah.
It's been a long time. And I love, like, he's so stoked, but he's like, look at this Shawshank. Like, it's like they're in prison. And I was like, what are you talking about? And there's a lot of like going on here, but I had to like not take stills because they had the kids not at their best without the uniforms on. I was like, I'm not taking pictures of all that.
I will say real quick, because Dan said I got to watch that about Battle Angel Alita. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I'm used to saying read the manga, Dan. Read the manga. But I mean, I have the manga too. I've only read the first volume so far, but I love that movie. I watch it over and over. But yeah, Shawshank didn't get lost in translation. That's really funny. One of the funny things about this, though, to me, is that like when Mineta finds this, he looks over and is like, Midoriya, look, like, why would you call Midoriya over there? Like, Midoriya just, I guess, happened to be the next one next to him. But Midoriya's not the one that's going to want to peep on the girls with you.
I think it's because Midoriya is just so, like, easy going and friendly. Like, Mineta's kind of that character, like, doesn't really get, like, he can't push somebody into it. But if he's going to push anybody into it to be in on the scheme with him, it's going to be Midoriya. I don't think it's, like, meant towards Midoriya's character, more so just, like, their friendship already between the two of them.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's the efforts of those that came before us, those perverts before me.
Yeah, and like he goes on a monologue about most of the female students, which I did not capture each one of those because they were not.
All but one. He describes he like almost does alliteration with each one, but not quite alliteration. Yeah. But he's like Momo's Momo, like like he says like a thing, Ochako's Ochako Bod or something.
Yeah, they were and Ida is just like this noise, and I had to try to capture the screenshot like 4 times, so this was going off like him screaming like this for a couple minutes, and it made me laugh every single time because he is just not happy about this whatsoever. I was like laughing, and then
he's not wrong.
Yeah.
This is if I didn't have the other moment as my favorite moment, I laughed hysterically at the first time he says this.
Yeah.
And then there's another moment right after this. And it's ridiculous. My little Mania is already a criminal act because it is. He is terrible.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Oh, and then
and when Jiro gets him in the eye with it, I love how Midoriya starts analyzing the earphone. Yeah. It's a great quirk, It has great piercing ability. It has a great range, and it's super quick. It's a surprise. He goes into analysis mode, not into the whole what's actually happening. I love it.
Yeah. And then the real reason they all think that she did it because it was the right thing to do, and she's just irritated to no one's end anyways.
Poor Jiro. No, not really. There is right after this scene. There is a great splash screen that's all black and it just has a little Mineta head, and I forget what he says, but it's he delivers it with a high pitched squeal, and I absolutely loved it. It was just.
I think he just says my eye, and it's
yeah, that's what it is. But he's my eye.
Yeah. Oh, and then they kind of go to now he's ready to go. He's going to go talk to All Might and have this conversation. But he's sitting there stoically, super serious. And so Midoriya's kind of not sure what's going to occur at this talk because he doesn't know anything yet.
I wish I didn't just see Christian's comment. I love Midoriya's impression of All Might is fantastic too.
He's well, remember what I told you when I first handed you my quirk? And then he says this. This made me laugh too. I was that is what he told you.
Yep, it is. And he's been practicing that face in the mirror over and over and over again.
Oh my gosh. And then All Might's well, yes, but I also wanted to tell you that, how I told if it transfers at will when you eat DNA, and he talking about Stain licking his blood, whatever. And
Midoriya had completely forgotten all about that whole transfer situation.
Yeah, and he freaks out thinking that Stain stole One for All, and then so he tries to All Might's references to this was his.
He's basically saying you can force it on somebody as well, but you have to want it. No one can just find your toenail clipping, eat it, and get One for All. It's you have to basically want it or force it on somebody. It's those are the two options, and that's it.
And then he says it's chocolate, what they call it, obligation chocolate, and then Midoriya's why is it you in this image that's in your head? It's great. And then he kind of goes into explaining where One for All came from, and then explaining basically who All for One is. And I like that Midoriya caught it for everything, everything for one person. That doesn't sound cool in his mind.
Yeah, that's definitely not the. He grew up knowing, you're supposed to be self-sacrifice, help everyone around you, right? It's you're one of a whole. You work because you are a part of this big old society.
Yeah. Everybody
is a cog in this machine, kind of thing. So for some person to basically just take, that's the actual exact opposite of everything he's ever believed to be right.
Mm-hmm. And they kind of explain the history. I don't know how long ago this is, because even Midoriya I think mentions later that how old is this dude that it takes this long to get to that point?
Midoriya is the 7th or 8th wielder of One for All. Mm-hmm. So if you just imagine that everybody's 40 by the time this is about 250, 300 years ago, right?
Yeah.
If you do that kind of math.
And then the history of them getting quirks and the whole that the quirks were actually X-Men status bad at some point in time, and then we moved on from there. Actually shows a lot for why Stain was the way he is too. So it's actually kind of a good summary. I
like how he's how does this all relate to One for All? And then we get the history a One for All. We get to like learn about this part reminded me a lot of The Last Airbender. It's like the first time you remember, like you first learn about the first, Avatar.
Yeah.
That's great. He's the 8th. Okay, that's why I thought he was the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to say that without like double checking it.
And I really like that they have this brother thing where it's like one brother that he felt was weak and like pathetic, and the way that All Might kind of like explains it almost is, so I always like envisioned that you have this supervillain that you would have some animosity towards them, that you would kind of speak ill, but the way he tells a story is very like historical, and like he's just trying to recount the things that happened, because I don't think he would have One for All without having All for One at this point.
Right. But the reason he even says, though, is like the purpose of One for All is to take on All for One. Like the purpose, it was created for that, pretty much. Well, it was passed down for that. It was created because All for One essentially wanted to force his brother to have a power. Yeah. Little did he know that his brother had one. It was just dormant because he needed a second one to use the first one he had.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I like this.
It is. It's very interesting. And it's interesting, but I guess if you think about how quirks are definitely hereditary, right? So something about the parents gave one had the power to take powers, the other had the power to give powers. Mm-hmm. So clearly the one that had the ability to take can just take with nothing to start from. But the one to give has nothing to give, because that's their power, is the power to give. So without the two brothers working in conjunction together, they wouldn't have created like the All for or One for All.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
And it's and like he got a power to stockpile power and then pass it on.
Which is a weird. That's the one thing about this that I'm like, okay, you wanted to make your brother less sickly, somewhat have a little bit of control over your brother, kind of thing, because that's kind of what he did. Is he would take power to basically, he'd either take power to hold something over somebody, or give power to be like, I can just take it away whenever. Yeah. It's like drugs, right? It's very much, he's a drug dealer, he's a drug pusher, but the drug itself is a quirk. Mm-hmm. So, and he gives this power to his brother that's like, I'm giving you the power to stockpile power. But again, that's another power that you need other powers to, but I think that's probably it. I think it's the thing. I'm giving you the power to take multiples. Mm-hmm. So come to me and I'll start giving you multiple powers. But his brother never wanted to do it because his brother was basically like, no, I'm fine how I am, kind of thing.
And it's almost thinking about it too. It's like, it'd be interesting to find out how that first exchange occurred and what quirk that was as they go along. Because obviously the person that got One for All next had a quirk. And then kind of stockpiles as it goes along that way too. Yeah,
we know in the manga, we know like certain people, like certain quirks, what some people have, but I do not know like the first couple, and like I feel like they are the ones that define what we know as One for All. Like clearly, one of them has to have immense super strength, because that's kind of what we see All Might using and Deku using 100%. I'm gonna guess that's probably the first person that it's passed to is like a super strength quirk, because that's like the main One for All quirk. It's like, okay, you have the ability to, I don't know, you have super strength that so strong that you create gusts of winds that are like super powerful, to repel yourself through the air, to jump super fast. It's that one power that mitigates most of them. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's interesting.
And it kind of goes into like Succession about how all these people are taking on One for All with only the attempt to beat All for One. And he believed it was his turn, and he thinks that he did beat him. And he kind of like talks about that.
Yep. We even see him standing over what looks to be All for One's dead body. Like a dude with like no head and a pile of blood like all around it.
Mm-hmm. Which
All Might did good there, but sustained massive injuries. And that's when he got his big injury.
And then kind of like him explaining later that with the League of Villains happening and like the Nomus and everything, he's telling Deku that this guy is not dead yet, and that there has to be something happening. And unbeknownst to him, Deku's like, "I'll do whatever you want as long as you're around. I will fight whatever fight you need me to fight. I will do whatever you need me to do," which is kind of not the answer I don't think he was kind of looking for.
Yep. This broke me. This whole scene where clearly there's another thing that he needs to say, but I think we've all been in situations like this where we have the one thing that we want to say, but we know it would break the person that we want to say it to. And this is All Might battling with this. He's like, just tell him, All Might. You have to tell him. It's like, because Deku says to him, he's like, I feel like I could do anything with you by my side. Like the fact that you are there with me, it's like that gives me the ability to take this on. Because he so readily accepts the challenge. Because All Might says he's like the purpose for One for All was to take down All for One. Mm-hmm. And so like after explaining this whole thing and how All for One is back and all this other stuff, Deku's like, I accept it. I accept this challenge. I'll take this on. Like anything that you need of me, I'll do it. And he's like, because you're by my side, I can do this thing. And All Might just goes blank, and it's just like, man. When I first saw this, I'm like, damn. I feel like the season finale is going to be All Might without One for All dies pretty much. Like that's the thing. We'll learn a little bit later on, like what actually is the situation, but there's clearly something. And plus, also, dude has a gaping wound in his side that like half of his stomach's gone, half of his innards are gone. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he's not the best. He would not be doing well in the society we find ourselves in.
Yes. And it kind of goes, I think it stops at that point, and we kind of go to the end credits, which is Aizawa talking to the class about what they're going to be going and doing next. And also that they can't stop training, because that would just not be the UA way, basically. Yep. And so they're going to be going to a camp, basically, to train better.
Okay.
But only if they pass their finals, or else they get to go to hell school, is what I think he literally says.
Yep. This is just Midoriya reflecting back on the fact that All Might didn't say anything about himself. Because I think All Might said, he's like, I have something to tell you about me and One for All. And he only talked about One for All.
Yeah.
But so this is a nice little tease for what's to come next, finals, and then season 3, which is the training camp. So we get a little bit of a tease kind of going into, because we're nearing the end here. There's only 5 episodes left of the season. So, it's kind of like ramping up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there we go. Favorite moment of this episode?
This one's a tough one. I do really like that All Might got to clear out the air about everything. We kind of got to learn about where that quirk comes from, because a lot of things in animes, they have overpowered things without actually going back behind it to explain why it's overpowered, or they explain it as they inherited this and do that kind of thing. So I really like that he thought about it and was like, this is why this occurred in this order. So
I really like that part too. I love the fact that we get a little bit of history from it. I think that there's a lot more to explore there. And hopefully we'll go into that kind of stuff like later on. We're starting to get little glimpses of it here or there. I do love, my favorite part from that whole scene though is that heart-wrenching end where All Might can't bring himself to tell Deku whatever is bothering him pretty much about it. And the fact that he says, he's like, Deku says, like, as long as you're by my side, I feel like I can take anything. He's like, well, I might not be by your side forever. Like, something's coming up that might take me away from that. So I find that to be an emotionally powerful moment. And that whole scene is just emotionally powerful, which is great after, like, I don't know, we had the sports festival, which is crazy. We got a lot of emotional stuff in there. We had the Stain arc, which again is very emotional, but crazy, bombast, whatever. Then we had some fun, like, school stuff, and then we brought back into like the core. I feel like this show is very much very much it's Deku and All Might, really, and their relationship. So we get a little bit of their core, the history behind everything happening between them.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I still think for me, my favorite moment though is Deku getting to show off. Like I love that. Like, hey, new powers, show it off, and get everybody being like, "Whoa, what's this? Something new, crazy! You're crazy now." So nuts. Creation Odyssey's favorite moment is Bakugo's hair bomb. I was kind of thinking that. That was great. Sleepy Giant says, "Camp. Articulator doesn't want to think about that happening. I guess he's talking about All Might.
Yeah.
But overall, great set of 3 episodes. So, and Articulator does say that his favorite moment is Eat This. That's right. I'm hoping it doesn't happen until the very last possible moment. All Might passing? Yeah, I hope so too. Or just not at all. That's fine. I'm okay with it. Don't call All Might because he's great as just Toshinora. Like I just kind of love skinny All Might, because we won't go into that yet because we'll get there soon enough. Do a little bit of house cleaning before we end the episode. There's only 5 episodes left, so that means season 2. We have 2 episodes left for us here, meeting up for season 2. 3 next week, 2 the week after, and then we're going to go on a little bit longer of a hiatus before we start season 3 because I'm moving. So I'm going to take probably 2 weeks off from the show while I'm moving. So we'll pick up again mid-November-ish, but we'll be in touch about that. We still have 2 more episodes to go before we get to that point. Also, I want to give a shout out to Fire Scorpio Photo, the guy who did the talented guy who did our opening. He has been battling the coronavirus. He's been in the hospital for a while. He is now doing better. I talked with him a little bit over the past week or so. I got some messages from him today. I hadn't heard from him in a couple of days. I checked out him earlier today. He sent me back a couple of messages, so I got to go through those. But I'm just happy to hear that he's doing well. Yeah. So my thoughts have been with you, and I'm glad that you're doing better, buddy. Are we going to talk about Hero Rising? Hero Rising, the second movie, right? That's what we're talking about? No, wait. Yes, Hero Rising is the second movie because 2 Heroes is the first movie. We could talk about Heroes Rising. Yeah. What about leaving a taped review in the camp? For what? The movies?
Oh, I think he means like episodes, like pre-recording.
Oh, no. We want to do this stuff live so we can chat with you all. Like, that's the whole purpose of it. I definitely want to do, and I think Steph and I have briefly talked about this, that we want to do like the movie stuff. I think when we get to the first movie, which takes place once, it actually kind of takes place now-ish in the timeline-ish. But I think we'll cover that when we get to that episode because there is an episode in season 3 that is the lead-in episode to that movie. I feel like that'll just be natural in progression. I think it'll be fun to do a side episode for that, not our like main Saturday night one. Maybe we'll talk about when we want to do it because I know that movie is not on Crunchyroll. It's not on Hulu. I think it's on the Funimation app. I'm not sure though. Yeah. So you have to like either purchase it or rent it. And I don't want to put that on anybody, but I guess you can just join it and listen to it anyway. But yeah, so we'll do that at some point. Another good thing, I really wanted to play the trailer for season 5 that dropped today, but I don't want to get taken off YouTube. So we're not going to play that, and instead just say, hey, season 5, it's coming in spring, which is crazy quickly, actually, I think. I was expecting, like, fall of next year.
No. I mean, they're releasing a bunch of stuff right now. I mean, I guess animated stuff would be easier to release right now.
Yes. Apparently, animation studios never really have to like kind of pare down, so they're all just kind of continuing to pump that stuff out, which is great.
Because we have a Demon Slayer movie too coming out soon, don't we?
The which one?
The Demon Slayer movie.
Should be. It is October. It's slated for October, so that should be soon. Soon. And I know Steph and I's other favorite anime is back. We got to watch the first episode of Haiku this past weekend, which is, yes, I was so excited. And I had a beaming smile on my face all night last night while I was watching it because I fell in love with every character all over again. And yeah, I'm just really happy that that's back. It's hidden in season 4 if you're watching on Crunchyroll, because there's 6 seasons on Crunchyroll, but the movies are season 5.
Yep.
And they have a subsect of what I believe is the beginning of season 4. They have like a 2-episode OVA that they made season 6, oddly. So if you're looking for it, go to season 4. Whatever. That's a whole different anime. That's not what we're here to talk about. But I'm glad it's back. Yeah. Oh, Creation Odyssey. I bought both movies too. I am super stoked for. I think it's October, right? Or is it December when the second one drops? I don't know. I have a pre-order on Amazon, and I'm gonna keeping my Blu-ray player hooked up to the last possible moment so I can watch that on repeat till I move. Yeah, Bakudo. I was so happy to see Bakudo, and he was so like animated. He was great. I just loved it. It was just like I got to see everybody because everybody was on the sidelines. I totally forgot where they left off, even though I had just like watched everything like 2 months ago. But still, yeah, so many bunny rabbit ear finger gestures. I know. I'm Italian. All right, I do this a lot. Yeah. Anything else, Steph?
I think that's good.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about toys for a brief second too, because we got a lot. The All Might Revoltech drop. Clearly, he's in the chat. You talked with him this evening. That figure is here. But that drop, that's great. Mine is sitting in Japan because Good Smile on October 7th, confirmed on goodsmile.com. We have, let's see, the Shoto and Ochako.
Oh, the pop-ups.
These guys, yep,
Yeah.
which is great. We have the Shoto Todoroki Figma, and I believe, I could be wrong, the Kirishima Nendo. I have to double check on is he confirmed for the 7th?
I don't
So
know
that
about
is
the
like-
7th, but I know he's supposed to come.
That is a
charged.
giant drop. I am so stoked for that. And like, so the day that Ami Ami is like, oh, hey, we got all this other stuff, I'm like, package it all up, send it now. DHL, be here in 2 days.
There you go.
I'm stoked. And that'll be my box of stuff to shoot before I move. So yeah, I'm stoked. I'm happy. So much stuff. Yeah, the 8th, I think the 8th for Japan, 7th really for us. It's our nighttime. So I'm really happy about all that. I'm so happy that they're all Kirishima and Ochako are not confirmed yet, so we don't have the date on those damn. Shoto is confirmed to be October 7th, so that is great. We know when he's coming. And as long as I have the Kirishima Nendo, I'll be happy. He looks to be like, I know he's missing that ab crunch that I like on the MHA ones. Steph is so tired of hearing me say this. But he looks to be like my favorite of all the Nendos. I'm so excited for him. He's one of my favorite characters from the show.
I'm excited for Ida when he comes. I don't care about anything else.
When is he? I know the pre-order closes for him soon because that's still open. The Dabi pre-order closed this past week, so that one should be in production soon. Toga should be dropping next month.
I think so.
Yeah. So
I hate opening those emails anymore because I have a lot of other stuff that's mixed in there, and I was just like, oh.
it's so easy to hit the pre-order button. It's not as easy to be like, oh, payment is due now? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Maybe I did need to drop $700 in my car today because I have toys coming.
Yes.
No, I needed all new tires, so I got all my tires. The car drives completely differently. It's great. So Wonderfest Shanghai is going on. Wonder if we will get any reveals. There's been a lot of great reveals already. Like we saw Thorfinn, guy you watching, Vinland Saga. Yeah, that's great. That looks like he's wearing actual cloth clothing too, which is shocking for a Figma.
The Shield Knight guy is the one that has the.
He's the first one.
Yeah.
I want to watch that anime just because I like the look of that Figma. That and now Creation Odyssey. I know you have this Nendo, so tell me if the anime is worth it. The dude who all of his limbs come off and there's like a katana under like his arms and under his legs, and like he'll hold his arm in his mouth because he has like a blade arm.
That's Dororo.
Sure, I don't know. He looks really cool.
No, that's the name of the thing. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Where did I put him? He's over there. It's a different anime. This one's like the Shield guy.
Oh no, I know they're different anime. I'm just thinking about toys that I've seen that I'm like, I need to watch the anime because they look exciting. But what about the Shield guy? Have you seen the anime?
No. That Dororo is really good, but it's only on Amazon Prime, just like Vinland Saga.
Good to know. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Oh wow, I'm not even going to attempt to say that right now.
That's the name of the person. Yeah.
Is that the name of the person or is that the name of the show? Creation Odyssey, let us know. Because that's the blade dude.
Yes.
Okay.
He has no limbs, they're all blades.
But he originally had limbs, I'd imagine, right? Yeah. This is just for me, really, but I'm back on watching a lot of Naruto. I've been slowly watching it for a while. I took a big break, and now I'm back. I'm in the middle of the fourth Ninja War, and it's been killer right now, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I feel like that show has just kicked off. Like I tell Richie, I'm like, I feel like this show just started. I'm 620 episodes in, and I feel like it just started, which is crazy.
It's funny because I told Richie if he posts a shot of Naruto, I'd start the series, and I've yet to see it. So you can
tell him every day, you need to shoot Naruto. You need to shoot Naruto. He has so much stuff, and he just won't do it. I don't know why. Oh, Deep Boy 333 Steph has plenty of figures from anime she has never watched. Nice. Is he in the other room?
Yeah.
Awesome. The name of the doll boy.
That's the name. That's the crazy name. Is the name of the main character.
Oh, so he is kind of like a doll boy. He kind of looked like a doll boy. He looked like what made me think of Naruto is he looks like one of the puppets that the puppet master is controlled. So, yeah. Next day I got charged for it. Coming next week. Wait, what? My Deku Revolt. Oh, Deku. Nice. Dude, I'm going to tell you, Dan, I feel like that Deku is going to blow you away way more than All Might. Everyone I talk with that has the All Might likes it a lot, but that Deku I think is like something special. He's great. Yeah. I don't know. Anything else?
I think you covered it all. The Vinland one was the best one for any reveal for the year, almost for me.
Same here. That is, I said in my story, that's my anime of 2019. I'm dying for it, especially since Studio Wit backed off of Attack on Titan for the last season. So I'm hoping that they now dedicate fully to Vinland Saga at the very least. I mean, I hope, like, give me more. Because, like, I want to talk. Now that I know that Dan's watching it, I'm not going to say what I want to say.
No.
But excited. So I'm obsessed with the pics of him holding his notebook. Oh, so I'm going to tell you a shot, Dan, I want to do because I also have. Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name right now. From One Punch Man. Genos. The Genos figure that I have, it is the blanking on the brand, but he comes with a notebook as well and a pen. And I'm like, I need to do like them back to back taking notes, watching like I don't know Goku training or something like that. I think it'd be great. Maybe I'll wait till All Might gets here and All Might be teaching them. Oh, Creation Odyssey finished Vinland Saga. It's so good.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember watching the first episode of it, and I'm like, oh, I'll just watch the first episode. We'll see how good this is. And it just like punches you in the face from like start to finish. I'm like,
yep.
Amazing.
This is exactly what I told Dan. I was like, I binged the ever-loving fuck out of that show. Like, I started it, and the next thing I knew, I was already 5 episodes in. I'm like, oh. And then I like went off and did something else. I'm like, I could fit another one in. Next thing I know, 3 episodes like later, I'm like, oh God. And then I never do this because I like watching things on my big TV. I watched episodes on my iPad in bed because I was like, well, I'm in bed. I usually surf the net for like 30 minutes. I could watch an episode.
There you go.
It was disgusting how quickly I tore through that show. Well, like Haiku, I did the same thing for Haiku. I was like, I needed to take it all in.
Yeah. That was when I was like, oh, I'm going to try this out and see how fun it is. And then like 8 episodes later, I'm like, oh my gosh, why is volleyball so fun? But
I know. I saw a couple memes going around of like some volleyball stuff. It was like someone getting hit in the face. It was like, Haiku taught me how to play volleyball. And like they're missing it because like that volleyball is not real life whatsoever.
No.
Great.
Great.
All right. Well, we can keep going on talking about every anime under the freaking sun. So let's just end it here because we're actually nicely under time for us.
I know. I'm excited for us on this one.
I know. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Watch Vinland Saga. Watch the next 3 episodes for this. Watch everything. Watch anime every day from now till then. We'll see you next week.
Mm-hmm.